Hi everyone, my name is Dan. I work for the Sonoma County Library, and for this last video in the short series we have on country blues guitar, we'll look at the way that your right hand, this is my right, plays the bass strings versus how it plays the treble strings. So we're going to look at a few different ways to play bass and to accompany bass on the guitar. So to start, we'll start very simple. We'll do a Charlie Patton-esque figure. There'll be 2 beats in this count. So we'll count it 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a... And I'm going to use this partial bar shape, so a normal bar shape. This is a bar A. You'll go across all 6 strings. This partial bar shape, you'll leave the 5th and 6th strings open. So you get these nice low bass strings ringing out. So to start, we can go 1E and a 2E and a, very simple. 1E and a 2E and a, and then we can throw in a little variation, which you hear a lot in country blues, which is having another bass note come in right before the 1. And it can come on the and or on the So let's do it on the So 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1. So it's a great, you can get this great kind of tumbling into the 1 feeling. And you also hear that same kind of bass rhythm going on in 12/8 or in 4/4 as well. But the consistent thing is a bass kind of falling into the 1. Another simple pattern is what's called monotonic bass. Monotonic just means 1 sound. So it's going to stay on this open E. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to use the pad under my thumb to kind of mute it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you may notice there's not a whole lot of sonic content there. It's just almost a dead thump. And that's because it's more there for rhythmic content, a very simple keeping the beat kind of feeling, rather than putting in a whole lot of ringing overtones or anything like that. And then you can use that to differentiate the timbre of the bass from the timbre of the treble strings, because this will be muted, and then the treble strings will ring freely. And then you can start to do things like Lightnin' Hopkins did. Just kind of a thumping bass, monotonic bass, and then something bright and solo-y up top. That kind of distinction between the bass and the treble, Son House, who was a preacher aside from being a blues musician, called playing the bass strings, likened it to the men in a choir, whereas playing the treble strings akin to women singing up high in a choir. That's the way he understood it, but you're welcome to understand it any way that you do. Another way of playing the bass is alternating bass, and all that means is you alternate between strings. So if we're playing a C chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, right on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. You will also hear that in Hawaiian music as well. It's been described as pianistic because it's a lot like the way old-fashioned piano players would play bass chord, bass chord, bass chord. Ragtime piano players and ragtime guitarists both played in that way. So you'll hear ragtime influenced guitarists, blues guitarists play this, like let's see, Reverend Gary Davis, for example. A lot of the people from Georgia were very ragtime influenced. But the way it might fit in with the treble would be, again, kind of thumping, so that you get that distinction between the low and the high, those timbres. So that's something that I think Robert Wilkins played that as well. So it gives this great driving feeling. And you can get even more of a driving feeling if instead of just plucking single strings, you brush and alternate. So 2 strings, 2 or more strings. You can be a little messy with it, and that's fine. And then you can start to add little syncopations up high with your index finger. And I was also using my middle finger. That's something I associate with Mississippi Hill Country, so people like R.L. Burnside, for example. One last way that we can look at bass is a way that Lead Belly played it, for example. Of course, he played a 12-string that was tuned pretty low, so you won't hear it exactly like this, but he might do... And that's another kind of pianistic style, because you hear boogie-woogie piano players doing that. It's a boogie-woogie bass line. So it's kind of a... it's a swung rhythm, a lot of chord tones being played. So that's another way that gets used a lot. Well, not a lot, but sometimes. And there are people out there, I should say, who don't consider Lead Belly a blues player. But that's neither here nor there. And actually, one more way to play the bass is a much more common way, which is shuffle. The word shuffle means different things to different musicians. An old-time fiddler will hear shuffle and go, okay, yeah, shuffle going, da 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 da. That's not what shuffle means in blues guitar. In blues guitar, it's kind of a triplet swing, and I'll be using the key of A for this. So what I'm doing here is brushing 2 strings at once, one of which is an open string and unchanging, and then the other one is doing that. So it's fairly cliche. That's how common it is, but it's a good one to know. So those are, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ways of thinking about playing the bass strings on the guitar for country blues. And you know, the great thing about guitar is it's a very flexible instrument. And I think the great thing about music is you can kind of very easily borrow techniques from one instrument and put it on another, or take rhythmic or technical ideas from one idiom and bring it into another as well. So I hope that even if you don't keep on playing blues, that you got something out of this. There's a whole lot of diversity in the playing. Like I hinted at, some people don't consider Lead Belly to be blues, and then you can get into a whole discussion about, okay, well, what makes it blues, and what makes Lead Belly not blues, and what is the role, for example, to get a little spicy here, of record companies in defining that. So, anyway, we won't get into that because this is not a video essay. I hope you enjoyed this, hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.